Welcome in, Slumpbusters. Welcome in, 49ers faithful. Welcome in, Cowboys fans. And most importantly, welcome to my guest, Taylor Mathis, the host / reporter of Superbook Sports. For the first time since 1995, the San Francisco 49ers will be playing the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL postseason. Taylor, when I say that statement, what does that mean to you?
Well, for me, unfortunately, I didn't really get to experience like the Cowboys glory days in the 90s because I'm a little too young. So it doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot to me personally, but I've always been a Cowboys fan, born and raised. So it's exciting, I guess, to hear that. And I'm excited to kind of see the old rivalry in a way renewed here in 2022.
Right. All I got is stories from my dad and myself too here.
Right.
Glory days is kind of a mixed bag when it comes to Niners over the last 20 years. At this point, argument's sake, I can say I think Jimmy Garoppolo is probably the best thing we've had at quarterback in the last 20 years. I know that started a whole shitstorm on Niners Twitter for me a couple days ago, but that's kind of like the state of the franchise for us. So keys to victory here. If the Cowboys win this thing, what goes right for them? What do you think the Cowboys' biggest strength is heading into this matchup against the Niners?
Well, I think the Cowboys have a lot of strengths, but one thing I'm noticing with the Cowboys is when their offense is on, they're on. I mean, twice within the month, they've scored alone over 50 points by themselves. So if Dak is on passing, which I'm predicting and hoping that he will be, which I also think is the 49ers' biggest problem, is probably their pass defense as opposed to the run. They ranked 7th overall at the end of the season for the regular season, defending the run. So I don't expect Zeke or Pollard to really go off, but I think what we're going to see is a lot of passing from the Cowboys, specifically to CeeDee Lamb, because he's only seen 10 to 11 targets over the last 3 games. I think we're going to see them throwing more to him because I think the 49ers are going to cover Cooper a little bit more. So I feel like if the passing is on and Dak is on, that's great for us. And obviously if our defense is on too, we rank top in the league when it came to turnovers. We're one of the top ranked defenses overall when it comes to offensive scoring as well. I think both of those elements have to be on for us. This game as a whole, when it comes to me thinking about betting, it's honestly a bit of a toss-up and not something that I'm probably going to touch, but I'm very excited for it nonetheless.
As far as the Niners go, you mentioned turnovers. I think that is going to be a big story of the game. The Niners are 7-0 in games in which Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't throw interceptions, so very important to win the turnover battle for us. I think in terms of run defense, certainly that's going to be a big story on both sides of the ball for the Niners. As you mentioned, a top 10 run defense going against the Cowboys running attack led by Pollard and Zeke. The Cowboys are 1-5 in games in which Zeke or Pollard haven't run for 100 yards. And right now the Niners have had a streak of 9 straight games without allowing a 100-yard rusher. What do you think is the biggest X factor, or who do you think is going to make the biggest difference for the Cowboys in this game?
I think the biggest X factor for the Cowboys, specifically for me, is going to be Trayvon Diggs and if he can show up. 11 interceptions, that's huge. And like you were saying, the 49ers do very well when Jimmy Garoppolo does not get intercepted. I do think there is a chance that Trayvon Diggs could intercept Garoppolo. And if he does, that's the recipe for the Cowboys to go over the line there and I think win the game, because I feel like when Trayvon Diggs is on, the defense is on, and things tend to go very well for the Cowboys. He has, though, as a cornerback, allowed the most yards in the league to receivers with 962. So I think the matchup between Diggs and Deebo Samuel is going to be really interesting to look at to see who comes out on top there. If Diggs can defend well, I think things are going to look better for the Cowboys. If Deebo Samuel is on when it comes to receiving, I think things are going to lean more towards the 49ers.
It's interesting. You mentioned Deebo being on when it comes to receiving. Deebo being on when it comes to his rushing ability, too, is obviously a big storyline for the 49ers. The Cowboys, while their run defense is highly ranked relative to other teams, their yards per carry is definitely a thing kind of monitor. And Elijah Mitchell, he's been a guy that's averaged anywhere between 4 to 5 yards per carry in most circumstances. And then Deebo at one point this season had a stretch in which he was averaging 9 yards per carry. So certainly the Niners set him up in that perfect zone running scheme that Kyle Shanahan has put together. So I think that obviously is going to be a big X factor for the Niners. If they can run the ball, I think this is going to be one of those 35 to 40 rushing attempt type games for the Niners to elevate themselves to victory here. Obviously, too, I think George Kittle has been quiet, and in particular on last week's game against the Rams, when Jimmy Garoppolo did throw those interceptions, they were on targets to George Kittle. So I'm going to be very curious to see how the Cowboys defend the tight end position. Obviously, they haven't really come across like a tight end of George Kittle's ilk. I know they went against Kelsey earlier in the season, and that's the only comp that I could really like put out there.
But against him.
Micah Parsons, I know he was out in this last game. He's coming back off the Rona list here. How do you think Micah Parsons is going to perform in this game? Micah
Parsons is unreal every single game. So, I mean, he's another guy that's a big X factor for the Cowboys. He's obviously exceeded expectations in his rookie season right now. So Micah Parsons is a guy I think that the 49ers also have got to look out for.
Yeah, and one thing I'm worried about there is Trent Williams, also a guy that missed week 18. Trent Williams dealing with a bit of elbow injury. He's breaking all of PFF's like analytics records with a 98.6 rating. So obviously important for them to have their Hall of Fame left tackle out there on the field. I think another big battle is going to be McCarthy versus Kyle Shanahan, the coaching battle here. That's going to be another thing to monitor. What about Dan Quinn? What are your thoughts on him? As obviously he was the head coach in Atlanta in 2016 when Kyle Shanahan was there on that Super Bowl run.
I don't know how much I have trust out of all the coaches on the Cowboys coaching staff. Probably like the guy that I trust the least would possibly be Mike McCarthy. Out of anybody, I like what I see from the Cowboys coaching staff, and I think they're liking what they see too, especially where we're seeing this crazy coaching carousel go on right now in the NFL. I mean, we just heard today David Culley now out with the Texans as well. And there have been a lot of talk about, our OC and our DC possibly taking one of these head coaching jobs. And I know that the Jags had interest in both of them. And I don't think that they're that interested in leaving. So I feel like that says a lot about the Cowboys organization right now as a whole. If coaches are liking where they're at, they're obviously seeing something in this team, in this organization that's on the up and up, not on the negative side of things.
Not necessarily relative to this game, but there is a discussion to be had there if Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys do happen to lose in this playoff game, with Kellen Moore being such a hot commodity out there in head coaching circles. Does Stephen Jones consider the possibility of hiring internally, keeping Moore over McCarthy?
I don't know. I mean, I would find that hard because I feel like they're pretty all in with McCarthy right now. And I mean, he's not thus far, I feel like, proving to Cowboys fans, not the best, but compared to what else is out there right now, obviously not the worst either. We're seeing like a lot of things being changed around in the league when it comes to coaching. And I think the biggest mistake thus far, in my opinion, is the Dolphins getting rid of Flores. I don't really get that yet. We'll see what happens there. But some of these other head coaching fires, I mean, they make sense to me. So I couldn't see Dallas really pulling a move like that. There's too many other problems around the league. I don't think they would do that.
I think it's a little bit of FOMO in case Kellen Moore turns to be the next Sean Payton. And obviously Sean Payton has been a name that has haunted Cowboys fans over the last couple decades here. But let's get into the game. Let's get back into the game predictions here. I think I have an idea of where we're both leaning here. Obviously, I'm rocking the red and gold here. You're rocking the Cowboy star. So I guess it comes down to final score predictions. What do you think here? This is a 3-point line.
Like I said, if I'm talking betting, I'm probably not touching the game as a whole because I'm scared of it. I think I'm a little superstitious because I don't want to bet on my team. Also, I feel like this is going to be a very close game. I mean, you're looking at the Cowboys who finished 12-5, 6-0 though in the NFC East. Then you're looking at a team in San Francisco that's won 7 out of their last 9 and a big overtime win coming off against the Rams. So I think that's huge to look at too. Of course, I'm going to say the Cowboys because they're my team, but I am very up in the air about this game as a whole. And I was even saying before we started recording, prop bets as a whole is kind of my specialty and what I focus on. And I was looking up prop bet lines right now before we started recording. And I don't even know if there's anything that I would touch as a prop bet. One thing that I have slightly looked at is the over on Zeke, 47.5 rushing yards. I'm still even iffy on that. He's barely over 1,000 yards and it took 18 weeks to reach that number. So I would take the over because I just feel like that's too small of a number for a playoff game where I feel like their offense is going to try to bring out all the stops. I would take the over on it, but I'm like not the most confident in the world on that. So that's just kind of what I'm thinking.
Well, like I said, I'm going with the Niners here, and I added a score prediction on my other podcast. I'm going to stay consistent here. I'm going to go 24-21 Niners. I think it's going to be a very defensively led battle here. I don't think it's going to be a high flying offense. I think the Niners are going to do a good job at containing Dak and company relatively. Obviously, you mentioned our secondary is nothing to write home about. Certainly, we hope K'Wan Williams is out there, or that's going to be a long day trying to cover CD and Amari there. But the key for the Niners to win this game is just, like I said, a lot of running attack, a lot of Elijah Mitchell, a lot of Deebo Samuel, which is obviously going to keep it relatively low scoring, keep it in the 20s in my mind. That's why I feel like 24-21 sounds about right. This might come down to a walk-off field goal again like last week. Anyway, guys, that's just our predictions. Go ahead and drop below in the comments below what you think is going to happen this coming Sunday. Once again, thank you to Taylor Mathis. Go ahead and follow her on @ChaiSportsChick on Instagram. Taylor, one more time on your Twitter.
EMath11792 if you want to follow me on Twitter.
Go ahead and check out all her fantastic content, guys. From Juju Talk Sports, stay safe, happy, and healthy, and we will see you next time.